Hello and welcome everyone to the Profit Plan workshop today. We're going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects, the risk to rise. My name is Rhonda Petit, and I'm super excited to have this opportunity to speak to you today. And we're going to be talking about taking risk to rise and making inspired decisions in a high stakes world. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Rhonda Petit. I am a author, professional speaker, and coach, and I help medical. I've been in the industry, the med tech industry, for the past 40 years, and I help CEOs and executive team leaders lean into change and leverage the disruptions that they encounter so they can attract, inspire, and retain top talent so they can enjoy a sustainable business. And risk taking is something that leaders in these organizations, those that are going to have sustainable businesses, need to be able to take. And the world needs to see more of this leadership in rising to the risk. But let's call out the thing that holds most of us back, and that is the lie that we often believe from just conditioning of what we hear in the marketplace that's not true, that needs to be dispelled right away. And that is, what if the greatest risk that you isn't failing, it's never failing, but never rising at all? You see, most of us believe or have been told that, to be safe, and safety, better safe than sorry. Who's heard that before, right? And the truth is that's a lie that's really holding all of us back. Because here's the thing. Comfort is not the goal of our journey on this planet and our journey of serving people in the marketplace and our journey of providing for our families, etc. Freedom is the goal. And the truth is that all of us were born with unique talents that we are meant to grow and expand so that we can make impact and continually evolve to become the best possible version of ourselves. But when we buy into the lie that security is safety or security is even real, it's a lie that gets us in trouble all the time, because that's not true. You're always going to have different things that are going to happen in life that could be challenges or disruptions. And if you don't learn how to lean into change and start leveraging these disruptions for your benefit, you end up feeling very trapped inside of a box that you basically put yourself into because you accepted a belief that's not true. You see, the truth that I'm here to tell you today is that none of us were born with any limitation. We just learned those limitations. And so for those of you who are brave enough, you're here for a reason. There's something about the talk, the description, had you hit the yes button, had you register, had you show up. And so what I really want to talk to today about today is, true freedom and the fact that you don't have any limitations, but risking to rise is something that is part of the process for growing. Now, I like to start out by a story about the apple seeds. And I want to use this analogy because of a couple reasons. Number one, if you read Genesis, the first book of Genesis, when God created man, he put man in a garden. So this kind of fits in with the success principles that God put in the first chapter, which is be, do, and have, right? He said, be fruitful, implying that you have seeds of greatness within you. Multiply, replenish, subdue, and then have dominion. So he said, be, do, have, right? And so that really, to me, is how I like to reframe risk, because any gains that you're going to have come from taking risk. And the reason that I like the seed analogy is because the law of advancement always states that anything that's going to go up and rise has to go down first, just like a seed, right? So the problem is, this is the story of Sam playing it safe, Sam the seed playing it safe. And if you think about an apple on the inside and having seeds, seeds are inside the apple. When someone eats the apple, the seeds get exposed. And in the apple, the seeds are in this nice little safety pouch, right? So Sam, the seed, the safety, the one who liked to choose safety, kept telling himself, well, now that we've been exposed, I think I want to stay in the safety pouch, right? Because what if I fail? What if it's cold? What if it's stormy out there? Where the other seeds that were in the pouch decided that, hey, I want to have some adventure. And they got focused on the fact that I want to become this tree where people can gather around me and enjoy the fruits from me growing into seed. So I'm going to go take a risk. But Sam wanted to stay safe. And so if you think about yourself, you and I, we all have these seeds of greatness within us. We grow from the inside out. But a seed has to go down per the law of advancement before it goes up, right? If you're going to build a building, you have to build a foundation before the skyscraper can go up. You operate the same way. You have seeds that have to go down and grow roots first before they can have the fruits that you see. But the problem is in today's world where everyone wants, instant gratification and get rich schemes and everything. Everyone's looking for a shortcut, and there is no shortcut. The risk is the first step in growth. You have to make a decision to grow. And so if you think about risk from the standpoint that number one, you are unique. So if you think about the odds with mom and dad's sperm, like the sperm flying through and getting through and hitting mom's egg, that event in nature at that particular time and point is never going to happen again. There's never ever going to be an exact replica of you. You were designed with a purpose. You came to this planet. God put an element of his creativity, which is infinite. He didn't put all of it in you, but he put an element of it in you as a seed to grow and expand. And the greatest risk is if you decide that you'd rather stay comfy where you are and you're unwilling to risk, then you never get to become what you were designed to become. And the reason, I want to tell you another thing, the reason that you have desires to, have things is that's put in you by design so that you can become more of a person in the process. That's the real purpose of the growth. So risk taking is when you have to go through the growth process to get the roots before you're going to see the fruits. And so yes, it's uncertain. And why is it uncertain? Because think about it. If you go down in the ground, when the seed goes down in the ground, it's dark, right? It's not light. You can't see what's coming. You don't really know what's happening. And you have to, there's going to be a disruption. The seed is going to bust open and it's going to draw to it. If it's planted in an environment conducive for its environment, for it to grow, it's going to start to attract everything it needs so that it can grow roots and then move up towards the light and rise. And so you operate the same way. So if you can accept the fact that number one, if we go back to the Bible, man was put in a garden and man was told, we are the creators, we were designed to create. And it's an infinite game. And if you can think of yourself and taking risk as seeds of opportunity and having those seeds within you, and choosing to do something not just for yourself, you were put here to serve others. And so if you become that tree, that apple tree, and you grow and you take risk, then you give permission to those around you to do the same. So if you don't buy into that concept of the seed, and you want to keep the belief that many have, is that it's better to be safe than sorry, well, and then you start settling. The problem is when you avoid risk, avoidance, and it is something that's going to cost you, the opportunity to grow. You're going to stay complacent where you are. It's not going to give you learning experiences, because failure is nothing but a lesson that you have. So if you're unwilling to take risks, unwilling to fail, worried about what other people think. Number one, let's talk about worried about other people, what other people think. Having any kind of an approval addiction, knowing that you're as unique as you are, you don't have any other competition, because there's never going to be another you. So the only thing that you're risking by deciding to stay safe is is that you're not going to become all that you can become, and you're the only one that can do that job. So you miss out on that fulfillment, because if you write this down, the three things that all human beings get fulfillment from are creating, connecting with other people, and contributing to something that has meaning. So I want to ask yourself, right now, because you're here, something inside of you is brewing. You want to rise. But maybe you just don't know how to make a decision about whether the risk is right for you. Now I'm going to tell you how you can do that, the easiest way to do that. But for right now, I want you to look at what kind of opportunities have you been ignoring because they look like impossibilities to you. Because the thing that you've got to remember about a seed is, when you set an intention that you want to get planted and you're willing to grow and become something bigger than you were before, the first thing that's going to happen is disruption. Again, think about that seed. The seed doesn't stay as the seed. The seed's going to bust open, and there's going to be disruption. The intention of who you want to become, that's going to work on you first to build you roots before it's going to work for you as you rise. And so, what opportunities have you been looking at thinking that they're impossible? Because the truth is, like I said earlier, you were born without limits. You only learned that you had some, and you were fed some lies. The truth is, you have no limits. So they may look like impossibilities because you can't see the path, because you're going to have to go down in the dirt, in the dark for a while. But they are possible because you were born to thrive and have seeds and have legacy and continue to evolve in an infinite game of growing. The thing that causes all of us to sit in a state of fear and of risk is really comes down to three things. And those three things are the things that are causing you. I wrote in the description, to say things like I should have and I could have, that should have, could have, itis, which ends up in the end as being regrets. We fear three things. We fear regrets, we fear judgment, because of what's anybody's going to think of me, like as if you need to get your acknowledgement from outside, which you don't. And you fear losing control, because when you go into uncertainty and you go into something that's dark and you can't see everything, except the next best step right in front of you, it can be scary at times. And so risk taking and leading people in organizations, it takes courage. But if you understand from an awareness standpoint that you were designed with seeds of greatness in you, and you understand that when you produce based upon your purpose, because your purpose is bigger than you, it's about how you're going to serve others. When you can move with meaning and you can act with awareness, knowing, hey, I know I've got seeds of greatness in me. I know that walking into uncertainty is what I need to do sometimes, because I'm going to let the process work on me to make me become more the next best version of me before it's going to start working for me and I'm going to see results. Then you're not going to be in a state of fear anymore. But not all risk risks, we're talking about risks for gains, but I want to mention that not all risk in business and in life are necessarily only about gains. There is one thing that you do want to protect, and that's who you are. And the story that I like to use to illustrate, I learned about this story from Bob Proctor, but there was a gentleman by the name of Herman Cranert. And Herman was rising the ladder, the corporate ladder. So a lot of us in corporate could really relate to Herman. He was rising the ladder. He worked for a company called Sefton Manufacturing. And at Sefton Manufacturing, he got called into the CEO's office for the promotion dream of a lifetime. So they sat Herman down, and he said to Herman, "Look, Herman, I have great news. I want to promote you to executive senior VP and give you a seat on our board." And Herman was like, "Wow, I wasn't even expecting this. I tell you, I'm going to give you, do the best for this company. I'm going to bring my best I'm very excited." And then the CEO said to him, "But there's one condition, Herman. The condition is that you vote on the board. I'm going to appoint you to the board, but you have to vote the way I tell you to, no matter what." Now, Herman was in a real pickle at that particular moment, but he recognized something, and he didn't hesitate to make a different kind of risk. He wasn't taking a career risk, he was taking a character risk. And Herman said, "I'm sorry, but I decline and I quit," because what he decided in that moment was that, yes, am I going to sacrifice for profit and gain, which could be the easy thing, the easier decision to do, but am I willing to lose my integrity and my independence, my ability to make a decision that honors my values and be true to myself? And he immediately made that decision. It cost him, he didn't have a job. He came home and he told his wife, "Hey, I got a great promotion and a seat to the board today." And she said, "Oh, that's amazing." And he said, "I quit." And then he told her the story, and then she understood. And then the story goes that, shortly after, later that evening, he gets a knock on the door, and six other people heard about what happened, and they left Sefton Manufacturing. And Herman said to them, "Well, why did you quit?" He said, "Well, we want to work with you, Herman." And Herman says, "I don't even have a job." And so those six people, put their minds together and made a mastermind and came up with the Inland Container Company, which ended up being one of the most successful businesses ever during the most difficult economic times of the Great Depression. And he went on to become a philanthropist, etc. But the point of this story is, leaders, all of us out there, will be given some temptations at some point of taking the easy route. And the question that you have to ask yourself, knowing you are uniquely you have seeds of greatness within you, are you, going to be able to be bought, or are you going to stand, and the one thing that you do protect is your values and your integrity and your independence. And it's that kind of leadership, because when Herman made that choice and decided to quit and not take the bait, and he wasn't going to be bought, and he left, that sent a signal to the people that they had the permission to do the same thing. And out of that risk came one of the greatest success stories in those economic times during the world's depression, with the Inland Container Company. So, sometimes the risks that you have to take are not just going to be for gain. Sometimes the risk you have to take is to maintain your character and who you are becoming, because you value that. So inspired decisions, these risks, people ask me, sometimes people are going to wring their hands and, "Oh my gosh, what do we do?" And got to go ask 20 other people. Yeah, the best advice I can say is that you have to start listening to yourself inside and taking hits from your intuition based upon alignment with your purpose, your talents, your gifts, and how you're going to serve the world. And so, to be a creator, you have to have a goal. And if you have a goal that you've set to create something that aligns with your purpose, that is going to bring you fulfillment, etc., you start thinking from the goal, not of it. And so this is so critical, is recognizing the difference between avoidance and alignment. Because if you're going to start making inspired decisions and taking risks that are not reckless, but that are aligned with you growing as a seed and unfolding the next best version of yourself, you've got to understand that there is a process, the law of gestation for a seed, right? The law of gestation is one of the seven, laws in my book, The Spirit of Selling, that I talk about. But the law of gestation says every seed has a gestation period. So if you know that, just like a farmer knows that when he plants the seeds in, he knows when those crops are going to come up. He's not out there digging up the seeds 2 days afterwards because he can't see it. You have to be the same way, recognizing that you have those seeds of greatness in you. And if you're getting planted and you're going to go down, the law of advancement says you go down before you rise. You want to start thinking from the goal, not of it, because if you're thinking of it, like, you're just daydreaming. But if you're in the process, trusting the process and saying, okay, I'm going to take the risk and it's going to be uncertain, but I'm doing it anyway because I want to. And even if I have to fail, I'm going to learn lessons along the way, but I'm going to become something more than I was yesterday. You must start thinking, aligning from the goal, thinking of the goal, not from the goal, not of it. The bottom line of what I want you to walk away from today is reframing the word risk in your mind, because by any other means, it's an opportunity. It may look scary on the outside, but underneath, every challenge is an opportunity. And the only way you can grow in the law of advancement is you have to go through some uncertainty. You have to go down, let things work on you to become more before they start working for you when you become the new version of yourself. And if you look at things like quantum leaps, people will talk about quantum leaps. They're not bigger risk, they're just different risk. So when you're thinking, in a big way of something that you don't know how to do, and walking into uncertainty, actually, that's the best kind of goal to go for. Because if you're getting that desire in your heart, desire, that word means of the Father, you're getting that desire because that's what you're being called to do for your purpose. And so when you start listening to those intuitive hits, and following that guidance of your intuition, you're going to be able to make calculated risk. So the key point is that in order to hear your intuition, you must be in a state of calm. So if you're stressed out, you ain't going to hear your intuition. If you're in a state of fear, you will not hear your intuition. You can't, because that channel is different than the channel of love and receptance that you can get your intuition from. And so in your secret content, and for all of you who've registered, you'll be getting your secret content later today. It's a PDF that I wrote about making decisions and about dealing with risk and the risk to rise. But I like to say that there's two types of decisions that you can make. You can make one, inspired decisions, or you can make fog-driven decisions. And fog is making a decision in fear, out of fear, obligation, or guilt. So when you're on that channel, on that fog channel, you will never hear your intuitive hits. The only thing you're going to hear is your judge coming at you, trying to keep you safe and protected. And so the differences that you'll find in the secret content is that I call out is they're all based upon polarity. So When you're making an inspired decision, you're saying, I want to let those seeds of greatness within me develop, and I'm going to become something different and new, and I'm going to change my identity and become more. You're creating something. When you are being help making decisions in the fog, fear, obligation, or guilt, you're trying to control something. So you want to try to you think you're going to control, and keep something certain. You're trying to hold on to things and attached. When you're creating, you know that you're going for something bigger and more. And so you've got this abundance mindset. But when you're uninspired and you're in the fog, it's like you're hunkering down and you're in scarcity mindset. You're afraid. You think a security blanket is going to save you, and it's not. When you're in an inspired state, you have unconditional acceptance, like you can accept things in faith. And if you're in the fog, you're rooted in fear. You've got to have an open mind and an open heart to grow and to risk, taking calculated risk for your career or whatever, to do something new and to step into some uncertainty. If you have a closed mind and you're like Sam, the scared seed that wants to stay in the pouch, I ask you to ask yourself this question: am I putting first my comfiness to stay in the pouch, and am I going to deny the people that could have benefited from my fruitfulness, from me being more fruitful and developing? Am I going to deny them what I could have given them before I leave this planet? There's, it's a state of, when you take risks, you become detached and you have to let go of the attachment of the old way. But the biggest benefit that you get from taking risk and having the courage to rise is your confidence, because the moment that you can accept this idea, I have seeds of greatness in me. I am born without limitation. I can always play the infinite game of getting better, and you understand the law of gestation, that there's going to be a period of uncertainty where things are going to start to work on you, because your seed has to, but who you were as a seed, the last seed, has to bust open and get roots, and you're growing into something else. Then you can walk in faith in the darkness when you don't know what's going on, and keep moving forward because you believe in your heart, and that you're getting desires because you're being called to something bigger, that you have a bigger purpose to serve, and you're following your intuition. And when you're in that state, you have a lot more peace of mind, and you definitely have freedom, versus when you're holding on to security blankets and things that are just not going to have any kind of security for you at all. You're not going to have freedom. So what's the ultimate question to ask if you're faced with a decision, whether it's a character decision that you need to make, which may feel risky, or whether it's a decision with risk so that you can gain some, become more, maybe to have something that you don't have now, that you decide with power. Myron Golden said it best when he said, you just ask two questions. If you get a yes to both of these questions, you move. And the two questions are, hey, if I'm right about this risk and it works out, well, I love it. If you say yes, that's number one. If I'm wrong, can I live with it? Can I live with what I learned from it? If you get two yeses on those questions, time to move and go. You need to take a risk. So what's the mindset shift that those people that you look at, the Tiger Woods, the Michael Jacksons, the Tom Brady's, the people that become the best of the best, what is it that they're doing? They are setting an intention to become a bigger and better version of themselves. So the first thing that they do is they set an intention. Every time we set an intention to grow, we have to know disruption will follow. So when it looks like everything's falling down, you've got to have that ability to suspend disbelief, because you can't see what you're hoping for in those times when you're down in the darkness, when the work is working on you before it's going to start to work for you. And then you have to allow yourself the process and feel that if you have that desire in your heart, desire is going to drive things to happen. You truly feel that desire in your heart. You suspend disbelief and you allow the process to take place, and you act with awareness, thinking from the goal as if it's already done instead of it, that you're daydreaming about it. Because then when you start acting as if you're that person, that feeling first, the behaviors of the actions are going to follow, and then you're going to get different and new outcomes. And if you don't decide to change and you keep procrastinating, you've got to understand that you've got an opportunity cost. Procrastination has its price, and delaying these decisions about taking some risk, what is it's costing you? And I think the biggest thing it costs you is you're trading your impact, the ability that you have to impact others, to give permission. Think of your kids, what they're seeing you do. Think of, your peers, what they're seeing you do. Think of true leadership like a Herman Cranner, what that did, that kind of leadership. When people are deciding, they're making decisions and they're making risk based upon impact that they can have on other people by becoming more. Think of the customers, your customers, as we go through, if you're in sales and whatever, as you master your craft and you give more and more value to the customer, the impact that that's making, and how many more people you're going to touch and impact in a positive way before you leave, because part of those seeds is your legacy. It's what you're leaving behind. And if we can lead in, as this generational shift is happening in the marketplace right now, as we move into 2030, we're having, 60% of the workforce is going to be millennials and Gen Zs. What kind of impact are we leaving on the marketplace through our leadership to pass on, so that the community can continue to rise? Because if everyone, think about it, if everyone really realized that they had seeds of greatness within them, if everyone realized that risking to rise is the way to go for growth and expansion and prosperity, etc. If everyone realized this and everybody started showing up with their gifts, sharing them with others, what beautiful place the world would be. And the only way that we can start to get that momentum going in the world, in our communities, is by deciding to risk to rise ourselves. Why? Because of the impact that it's going to make on others. It's not just for your comfort. So we're not going to be selfish. So what are the power moves that you've got to do to rise above the fear and decide on making those risks? You have to ask yourself, where have I been holding myself back? Where am I playing small? Why am I playing small? What is that voice in the back of my head telling me? And recognize it's just a lie. You have a mind. It's your mind is polar too. You have two poles on your mind. You have, when your attention is focused on purpose, you have goals and you're doing things for others, and you're in that servant leadership position when you're aligned with purpose. And again, we talked about that. It's not about avoidance, it's about alignment. The other polar part of your brain, coming from your protection system, which was just in the evolution of man, is the protection system. And when you don't have a goal and you're not clear, so if you're playing small, you probably don't have a goal. You need to set a goal, and you need to be willing to take risks and get yourself there. But if you don't, you're going to drift. And the greatest danger is you're not going to take any risk. And the people on this planet are going to get denied because you didn't become all you could be. So if you can reframe risk as, hey, I'm just aligning opportunities. All these risks that are coming to me that seem scary, that I don't know how to do, are just nothing but opportunities that I can multiply. And if I start, really jumping into the game and playing the game and showing up, I'm going to multiply all the different opportunities that I have to serve. And the more people that I can serve and the higher value that I give to other people, the more, prosperity that I'm going to experience. And the truth is, when you're on purpose and you're doing your divine assignment, that's where the prosperity lies. But it requires risk. It requires the risk to rise. And so, the third power move is rise. I'm going to ask you to rise, take bold action with trust. And don't just think about it. You got to move on it because you don't have forever time. There's only a certain amount of time that you have in a day, and it's time to move. If and like I said, if those two questions are, is this aligned with the goal and my purpose? Yes. Is it something that I would love if it works out? Yes. Is it something that I can live with if it doesn't? Yes. Move. It's time to move. So the question that I want to really leave you with to think about is, how bold have you been? And are you bold enough to rise? Because it's not about totally being fearless. It's not like as if you're not going to feel those fear feelings, but you've got to be bold enough to rise. You have to be bold enough to believe the fact that you do have seeds of greatness within you. You are unique. The fact that you're even here on the planet is a success story in itself. And every one of us we're all going to have temptations, if you will. We're going to face those moments when it's going to be easy to be tempted and compromise your values for something that may seem safer or comfortable, right? But if you trade your values at any time for security, you're going to lose a lot more, much more than what you're going to gain on the short term. Because the greatest risk is not failing. It really isn't. Because, the greatest risk is that you could succeed at something that doesn't matter, that has no significance. But the bigger risk is that you're going to miss out on becoming who you were meant to be. And so, my challenge to you today is, the next time you face a decision, right, that's going to test your courage, and it's scary and it feels scary, I want you to be bold and choose to rise, because you do have seeds of greatness. And it's not because it's not going to be not choosing to rise because it's easy, and it's not choosing because it's certain, but because the reason that you choose it is, you're not going to only step in. Choosing to be bold means you don't only step into your seeds of greatness, but you give permission to others to do the same. And if there's one thing today in leadership that the world needs, is great leaders that will give people that permission to step into their greatness. And until you risk your risk, just think about this, your risk may just be the seed that sparks a forest. So with that, I want to thank you for attending today. All of you who have registered will get the replay. You're also going to get the secret content about making inspired decisions for the risk to rise. And I want to thank you for your time today. And let's be bold and let's rise and show the world what kind of seeds of greatness we have within ourselves and with our teams and our organizations. But it takes a leader to start the process. So let's lead, be bold, and rise. Have a great day.